I was calculating her numbers, her heart rate, her oxygenation level, her cardiac output, all to keep her mean arterial pressure high enough to perfuse her brain, her lungs, her heart, her kidneys, her life. I had to monitor her vital signs and her ventilator and her monitors to make sure that she was staying ahead, because if I didn't stay ahead, I would lose her. She had cancer. It was in her breast and had moved into her bones and her lungs and is now in her brain. And what was still healthy was now attacked by pneumonia. Underneath all of that, I was questioning, what are we doing? Are we prolonging her life? Or are we prolonging her death? It felt like torture. I didn't know how to tell her family. How do I tell them what I'm most worried about? I just needed to stay focused on the numbers, keep them counting, keep on top of them. And of course, that's when her daughter arrives, standing in the doorway with her little boy. I bring him to the bedside. I show them their mom, his grandmother. And I can see they stopped. And I've seen that look in their face before. They're looking, and they can see the lines, the tubes, the monitors, and the drains. And they can see life, but it doesn't feel like it. I look at the little guy, and he's holding a rock, clutching it so tight to his side, he could barely hang on to it. And that's when her daughter says to me, well, we'll ask her. And she said that he grabbed the rock out of the flower bed at the entrance of the Rocky View Hospital and insisted that he brings it in and wanted to make sure his grandma got the rock. Well, of course, she said, we're not allowed to even bring flowers into the ICU, let alone a rock. We can't even have plants or balloons. But I thought, what if we just snuck it under the covers and laid it in bed with her, at least showed it to her? He gave me the rock, and it was heavy. It was smooth, flat on both sides with rounded edges. It had a dusty gray color to it. And as I ran it underneath the water, it darkened. And then I could see these lines starting to appear. They were circular, moving outwards inside the middle of the rock, like ripples, like a thumbprint. We took it over together to the bed and laid it underneath the covers, and we placed her hand on top of it, and it fit. Her fingers seemed to know how to hold it. Well, from that day on, we continued to provide her care, monitor her, manage her blood pressure, reposition her, track her vitals, ins and outs, and we repositioned the rock between each hand. It became a comfort to us too. It had a gravity to it. And then something happened. Unexpected. The medication drips, the inotropes, we could start to taper them off. And the vent settings, we could start to wean her off. And she got better. When something should have taken her away, she was still here. Her daughters were there. She was awake now, calm, sitting amongst them. And I entered the room to reorientate her to all the things that had just gone on. And she looked at me and said, I know who you are. Oh. She said, you're the one that let it in. I heard the story. She said, I can tell by the cross you're wearing on the end of your necklace that I can tell you this secret. I went to heaven and I saw Jesus. And there he asked me if I wanted to come with him. But I said, no, I want to see my daughters one more time. So then he held up a rock. And he said, follow the rock. He let it go. And as I watched it go down, she said she felt herself go with the rock down and then woke up in ICU. I left that room changed. You know, I know what we do matters. The counting, the titrating, the vigil that we have at the bedside. But not everything that we can count, all those flow rates, not everything that we can count counts. There's more. There's something else. It's steady, it's solid, it's real. like the rock.